Okay. So when drawing the eye, I initially try to get as much information down as possible, proportions and positions, basically the positions of things. But even before I do that, I try to capture whatever type of energy. And again, we're talking about the gesture line. So let me make sure I have my correct brush here. I can use the carbon stick. That'll work. Let's see how that looks. Get a new layer. Yeah, that'll be a good drawing tool. That is the under charcoals. Then you have the carbon stick. So charcoals and carbon stick. All right. All right. So I would just start to draw some lines. I feel like this curve here is coming in, and this one's swooping up, and the ball. Got the bone of the eye, the side of the cheek, the indentation, the bridge of the nose, little highlight, eyelashes. So I'm just trying to make sure I get the energy, the motion. Then I start checking for proportions. I could go ahead and try to line these up, by drawing a line from there to there, but I'm not going to do that. This is really about gaining eye-hand coordination and seeing what you are drawing, what you see and what you know. Okay, so like right here, I see a very important. Let me break down how I'm looking at this. Okay, so I'm just going to make some marks where I'm looking, and then it will show you how I'm interpreting the image. Okay, so I'll make another layer. So I'm looking at key points like this because this is actually a corner, and dimensionally it has this kind of pyramid. So to me, that's an important area because it tells you what the dimension, where the dimension, how the dimension is constructed. And then you have this eyeball coming out, which is kind of a bulb. We talked about the bulbs, and then there's the whole eyeball is a bulb in here. So then the lid comes around, and it's almost like a sleeve, and there's a thickness there. It just tucks in. This curves around like a J. Again, the lid coming here, there's a thickness to it. And then there's a pouch effect or a bag. So these are the things that I'm looking at when I'm interpreting the form. Okay, and so I'll leave that there. I'll tone it down a little bit. And then so that's like an anchor point. Then I know that the ball is going to end right there, so I know that I got to come around here so I will go ahead and just make my eyeball socket. And then I will create the front of it, which is here, where the front of the eyeball is. Make that little X or the cross. Then you also want to create the form, which is the but the elliptical shape of the eyeball. Now, eventually you don't have to draw all of this. This is like I'm just showing you the thinking, and you may have to make some indications. I'm kind of definitely overdrawing it. Okay, but you want to know, I'm basically showing you how to think about the form. Then you can just go ahead and map the eyeball around. Then the lid is going to come across the eye here. So this is another mark that I can go from here and then around to here like that. So I can complete that shape. Then the bottom of the lid comes here, and it kind of pushes out a little bit, so I have to kind of go out and then back like that. So there's many ways to get these forms. I'm just showing you how I'm thinking about it, and it does, depending on how you think about it, is going to determine how it comes out. So there's the inside of the lid. I'm going to draw the underlid here, but then I'm going to come back around and draw the outer part of the lid. Right. Then the lid comes up, is the skin layer of skin is the thickness, and it tucks under the bone. And then we have this shape coming here, the J. I draw another one just to reinforce where the modeling, and another one, and then I'll just come down here and complete the lid. Okay, and then we're coming around here, make the bulge or the pouch or the wrinkle. Go ahead and make the highlight, get that in there. Why not? Do it now, do it later, doesn't matter. And eyelashes are something that you're going to want to do last, but I usually will put some in there just to, I don't know, to keep my mind knowing, yeah, that's where the eyelashes are going to go. But I look at the shading underneath the eyelashes, and that's kind of like what I want to make sure that I get. There's a lot of shading here. There's a break off between where just black shadow and then where the eyelashes go, so you got to keep that in mind. Okay, so I just scribbled that in there. That's not cross-hatching or anything. That's just drawing, just getting it in there. I call it brute force. So now there's a couple of ways I can go with this. I can take this structure and redraw it so that then I can go ahead and fill it in with either my cross-hatching or my shading. Or I can take this and manipulate this drawing here and just push it, like I can go in and start erasing the white that I don't need, and say, well, let me get, since I don't, it's not really there, I got the structure, and I do have the structure, and I can just eliminate these, guidelines, and then work it up from there. Okay. So in this case, that's what I'm going to do. Since I know the structure, I kind of got it in my head, I'm just going to clean this up and continue to work on this. I can take this, make it wider, and make it less opaque, it's less transparent, so the power of the eraser is just less. Okay, so I just kick it back. This is like making another layer and then turning it down, but actually I'm still working on the same layer. Okay, so before I do anything, I want to look at the proportions and making sure I got the proportions right. Now, I could take it and move it over there and just set it right on top, but I'm not going to do that. Because this process of drawing is going to teach you how to look at something without tracing over it, which is it's important to know how to do that. If you want to learn how to make up things, you can't trace things. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and start shading this the way I want. I have the model built, and I'm just going to go ahead and shade it now. Get the values in. I'm going to go over to a light. Like a single pass is not going to make it finish, but it's going to you'll be able to see how it's going to be finished. Okay. Got the head up here, the eyebrow needs to be darker. Okay, and you can set values in here. Pop some values in right quick. Don't need to look at all the detail. We'll come back and get the detail. This is the way to lay it in, get your layout, everything, and kind of give you an idea where you're going. I call it a first pass, a value pass. No, I want that. This is going to be dark. It's not going to change. It's dark up in here. Okay. We got some more around the bridge of the nose. It's darker around the eyelid here. Some wrinkles, more shadows. This is a lot darker. I don't want to go completely dark because I don't. The trick is I don't want to erase anything. I want to just go in and make it work by just going darker. Saves time and it ends up. It's usually a better piece of artwork when you don't have to erase. Erasing does something in the creative process. It's not that it's a bad thing. It's just a different thing. But I think it's a weaker approach to doing artwork. You see a lot of watercolors, a lot of pen drawings, and there's no erasing going on there. People are drawing stuff out, and it's here now. I can't change it, so this got to be right when you do it. Because as an illustrator, the techniques that I learned as an illustrator are, they're shortcuts. It's about, you're not really trying to do like say pure quote unquote art. You're basically in the commercial world getting work done to sell a product, and there could be time restraints, there could be budget restraints. So even though you want it to look fantastic, which they do, the technique is usually the last thing that people are concerned about. Like how did you do that? And if you use tracing paper, then that's not going to work. You have to go back and do it without tracing paper. That's not going to happen. All right. I want to zoom in too, because I would normally zoom into this eye and really just get it done, but if you're drawing on regular paper, you can't do that. So I'm trying to keep it in the realm of the traditional art processes. So just drawing without erasing, and getting it done. So this is kind of really dark in here now. So I'm going to go ahead and darken that up a bunch. And then a shadow in there. I think my proportions are a little bit off here. This eye is maybe too far to the left. So I got to go and do something here. I may have to do some erasing to get that highlight back. I don't know. That's really dark there. All right. And I'm not going to do in the iris, there's all these tentacles and things like that. And that's just time consuming. I mean, at that point, I would have to go in here and be like, getting all the detail, looking back at that and see how it's structured and then trying to emulate that. That's all good and dandy, but that's not what we really, want to do here. This is just getting a basic, basically using the eye as a reference for something that you're just trying to be creative with. Like, why are you drawing this eye? It's because of you're making a comic book, or it's a poster for a video game. Maybe you want to draw a race car in a reflection or something. So if you need to have the detail in there, then it's got to be in there. But what I'm doing is I'm showing the detail is just basically more of the same. Of you're getting in there, how does it look? Let me compare mine to that. Like, where is this eyelash? Where is this eyelash? Do I see one over here? Yeah, there's another one. Oh, there's more. That one's longer. That one's shorter. This one's crooked. This one's straight. This one pops out. And that's all it is. You just copy. If you're using it as a reference, you're going to copy stuff. So you have to learn how to see it. Like, what else do I see here? So, like, for example, in this section here, I don't have it. So I'm going to have to go in and get really, um, down in the trenches to make this work, because I don't want to move the iris over, or the eyeball part. Um, I don't want to. I could cut it, but again, it's like I want to draw this like I'm drawing, and I can't erase. So this is just a way of working. And for this course, for the course, I'm saying you can't erase, or really avoid erasing. Not it's a sin or something you're not supposed to do, because erasing is okay. But I'm saying that sometimes you can make yourself so you can't erase. That's your own. That's going to give you something. You're going to get something from that. That's what I'm trying to say. Your artwork is going to get better. Whoa, there we go. All right. Don't erase. Avoid erasing. So I'm going to erase this highlight because I have to. I can paint over it, but that's the same as erasing in this case. So we got this nice highlight going here. But this is the reason why I wanted to get the eraser, because this was just too funky. It needs to be smoother and probably a little bit bigger. So I got to come down there. And I'm just going to take all this back. I say it's knocking it back. Keep some of the dirt there. It's the original gang. Go back and get my brush again. Come down here. Now I just want to relax and just see where my lines are going. I got this little glint here, and then this eyeball is tucked away behind the skin, and this is where I want to start blending it, like really nice. And again, if you want to go in and just say like, okay, I got to get this done, just you can zoom in and just get all the little, find out where the variations of the values where you want to blend them in, and just go for it. You know, I used to do this stuff in pencil. I couldn't zoom in. I mean, I could actually, using the magnifying glasses. I mean, hey, the magnifying glasses are invented for a reason. So when in the art world, it's like when you're really in the art world, there's no such thing as cheating unless you're deceptive about it. Like, oh yeah, I didn't. When you did use a magnifying glass, but you tell people that you didn't. That's that's where it's wrong. But saying I use a magnifying glass is, oh, that's interesting. Now I know what I need to do. Thank you. So I'm trying to get into the nitty gritty here now. So the lid has to come down more here. And I don't know how I want to draw this. I'm just going to come in and, so I rotated my screen on my iPad, which is something else you can do. And I'm going to shade that in, but I'm going to have to come back and take some of this out. And I know that's going to be shadow over here, a couple of wrinkles. The shadow comes up. All right. All right. So, okay, so let's start looking at this a little bit more critically. We have, let's see where the differences are. If we look around the eye, and I'm going to just point at so I'm going to highlight another area here with a different color. And let's see if we can start seeing how to see this thing here. The eye on here seems to be a little bit wider. So I would imagine it's coming out to like here. Maybe a little bit wider. And here it's lighter. In this area, it's a little bit lighter. This shape here is a little bit, maybe it doesn't, it's not the same, and maybe it's a little bit higher here, but then it goes back down there. Something like that, maybe. The J is a little bit more hooked, maybe. What else here? This is okay. This is a little bit too high. This needs to come down about there. So these are proportions or ratios, or I don't know. Basically, it's just accurate dimensions layout. So I'm going to go back to the grayscale layer, get my black. I want to turn down this light blue. Because I want to see it, but I don't want to see it. I don't want it to be in the way. So now I go back to my grayscale layer. And first I want to do is to erase some of this here with the highlight, the iris. Just highlight this thing's a little bit bigger. You can see the lashes in the reflection. If you're going to go to another level of detail, you would actually create those lashes, but we're not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I don't like putting in that detail. It's kind of like distracting from, what is the mood here? Well, let's look at how to capture this mood. Is there a mood going on? Can we be creative as opposed to just copying things? It's good to be able to copy, but that's not it's like, it's good to hit the ball, but you really want to be able to hit a home run. All right. So, and this is a little bit wider. Come down a little bit more there. This is a little bit sharper, a little bit more on the angle on the highlight. And bring in some of these shadows here. And so now this is where the cross-hatching comes in, because I don't want it to get, depending on the tool that you're using, like I'm using kind of like this pencil tool, and it's not really that good for doing like grayscale like this. There's better ways to do that in this. So what I like to do to come in and get areas like this is I would just go in and start cross hatching. Like I'll take out a little section that I like, that I want to hash it, and then I would just start cross hatching it to darken it little bit by little bit, and then following, a little bit by little bit. You see where it gets really dark right there, and then there's a little darkness right there. So you can cross hatch that. Just draw it in. Little flattens out right here with the little skin texture. Then this has a bright highlight, kind of like here and here. So I'm going to go in and get this highlight by erasing. I want to erase this to make the highlight come out. See, right there, that highlight, and then this highlight right here on the skin. While I'm doing highlights, I got one here. I got one here. All right, get back to my gray. I want to bring this down. Shadow. And I'm actually just scubbling. This isn't, we need, I can do blending and so forth, but I want to get the values in without blending. It gives me the character of the line. You see all this line character. It actually can play to the skin. You can use that scubbling kind of crusty look to make it look like skin. So the cross hatching wouldn't do that. It would look like cross hatching. So I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to get this little dark shadow, the receding edge of the lid. kind of blurry here. You just want to get something blurry, just get your blur tool, get your point, and then just blur it out. Nobody's, if that's what you feel like doing, just do that. It's okay. And then this highlight here needs to come up a little bit to the edge of the, see how that's coming up to the edge all the way? So go ahead and get that. Whatever you copy, the more you can get to transpose what you see on one side over to the other. It will be more realistic. That's just how it works. You're copying what you see, and the idea is that you're going to enhance it. You want to enhance what you see. Like this is going to be closer to like a photographic type copy. I'm not going to be throwing anything else in there, but you can push like the shadows. You can make them darker. You can make the highlights, more brighter, like you're changing the color, like doing a color adjustment. Now, see, this is really soft, but what I'm drawing is really grainy. So I'm actually going to go get my blur tool and blur it up because I want it to be kind of soft and to make it look real. That's what we're trying to do here. If we can, it's simple things to make it look real. Then go ahead and do that. It's not. And we got that in there. Zoom back. All right, let me erase. You got to turn these other lines off and erase this garbage out of here that I put in. Erase that. Turn this one off. So you can see the similarities here. It's still not quite the same. We have a little bit of like a dark gray. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to get an airbrush. No, we're drawing. We got to stick with the drawing. I got to stick with the drawing as much as possible. Okay, so I'm going to get, you can see my brush here, the size. I want to get a wider brush. And I'm going to turn the opacity down so when I'm drawing this gray, it takes a little bit of work to build it up. So I'm going to undo that. And then so now I can like slowly, let's see where we're at here. Just around the brow of the eye, just slowly build it up. Make it dark. And then underneath the eye, same thing. Just get it darker. Reduce the size of the pen. Come up here, get these grays. Make it a little bit darker, opacity. And we got this. This is copying it. Nice and shadow, nice and darker shadow here. All right, come around. Now squint my eyes and I can see that it's darker, like in here it's a lot more darker. Maybe I didn't even have to erase that stuff that I erased. So we have to talk about the squinting the eye thing. That's something that you're going to want to be able to do. You could look at it kind of like blurry, and then you can see what might be missing or see what you need to add. It doesn't look right. It doesn't look right. Blurring it's kind of like waking up from a dream. And you kind of, where am I? And then as things come together, you realize, oh, I'm at home in bed. Okay, so you got the values there. It's pretty much it. Under the underlid here is a little bit weak, so I'm going to go ahead and get some values in here with the crinkly, wrinkled skin kind of thing going on, and get a little darker shadow right here. Okay, that's pretty much it. I could do more, you know, you could do more. There's a little bit, the eyelashes could be more. Yeah, I forgot about the eyelashes. So I want to get my darkest dark, get my skinny line going here, and then just kind of do some flicking of some. Got to put a little pressure on here with this drawing tool. It's they want you to put a lot of pressure on to get the black. So that's what I got to do. Seem like we did a pretty good job down here. I just want to go in and get the ones that are closer to the rim of the eye. Make this nice and dark, kind of like mascara in a way. All right, and blend that in. Shadows, hair. All right. I could just make a little square thing, or I could fade this one out. Which one do I want to do? Either one. I'm going to go for the square. I'm going to take this, erase this. I got to move that up. See, this stuff, I mean, it's not fair that I'm doing this, but maybe you could pick some of that up too, but I don't really want to teach so much of iPad Pro techniques because it's just too, you know, it's a different class. So, um, but I just want to create the square so that you can see similarity. And I got to lighten up underneath the lid. It's like really, oops, not that light. So I'm gonna do this thing called glazing where I want to lighten it, but I don't know how fast I want to lighten it. So I'll just take a little bit away at a time, just kind of like picking at it. I got a little bit of a wrinkle there, a line that I like. I want to keep that line, makes it look realistic. And then you can just go ahead around that and clean that up with the erasing tool. You see, my erasing it would either require a lot of pressure or a lot of stroke. So that's what I'm doing. I'm stroking it, but I'm getting it lighter. It may not look like it, but you'll see how eventually it becomes like the other one on the right side, on the left side, the right side. You know what I'm saying? Okay, that looks pretty good. Go ahead and add that on, and then make this highlight really bright. That corner where it all started. I need to go in and put some value to darken this up. So you learn how to do this. All the exercises that we do, it's going to show you how to add the values, make the forms, do the gesture, do the shading, the whole thing. And if you can do this with the eye, you can do this with any type of anything on the human body, any type of other creature or character. Um, you can draw anything. If you know, it's just basically understanding what you're doing. You get reference. Like I got reference to draw this eye, but I'm copying it. But even if I just got close to it, you use something like, I want it to be this eye, but maybe make the eye brown, or you know, like a darker color eye, or you know, maybe you want it to be a part of an eye of but a human eye, but put it on a fish or something, or a piece of fruit. You combining different things to make a new thing, you know. So this is what it is. This is how it's done. Okay, you learn how to draw the basic things. You master that, and then you can do anything.